Vayushav es Moshe es Aaron el Paro. Moshe and Aaron, they were brought back to Paro. V'yom aleim l'chu ivdu es Hashem Elokeichem. Miva miholchem. Who's going to be going? V'yom Moshe ben Noreinu ben Zkeneinu Nelech, with our youth, where the elders were going. Ben Bonenu, with our sons, ben Nosenu, with our daughters. B'tzonenu b'koreinu, our sheep, our cattle, Nelech. Why? Ki chag Hashem lanu. It's a chag. Now it's interesting. Originally, when they asked to go, everything, it says, I want you to tell over to your children, grandchildren, how I made a mockery of them. Factually, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Almighty, He's the omnipotent being, why are you asking to send them out for 3 days? Let them out. You're in a position to dictate. Why is he asking for 3 days? Evidently, it's not so simple. He has that power. Just as you see, he wasn't able to destroy the wheat and the spelt, right? So that only confirms that what? That he's not what he's made out to be. Okay? So good. That was the mockery, because factually, when the locust came, the arba came, the chita and the spelt, right? That was devoured, almost totally destroyed. So that was again to give him that jolt. But even after everything said, at the end he left what's his name, Baltzvon. What did he leave? That he left that deity not destroyed for the same reason. You see, he's not able to destroy Baltzvon again. And we acted in a way that we were locked into the desert, again to mislead him. It was all to mislead him. No, because, good, it's not. Because you always have to have because that the Orach HaKodesh points out, is as a rational person is, unless he's insane, how do you not? A person puts a gun to you and says, if you don't give me what you have, I will kill you. So, if the man truly believes that he's going to be killed, you're going to give what the man is asking. What Hashem did to Paro, if you understand it as you should understand, there's no way you don't submit. How does he not submit? Because he has another way to see it. So Hashem has to give him that opportunity to see it differently, to act irrationally. Even though the rational person would say, something, but it still doesn't make sense. Regardless, even though you could say it may be that, but the way we see it, it definitely is not that. The irrational person says it is that. But if everybody says it's day and there's no base say it's night, and he says it's night, then there's something wrong with the man. It's not he's irrational, he's totally unstable. Okay?
Then what happens after 3 days? Suppose
we didn't come back. We didn't come back, so that's just, you see that? They said 3 because their God doesn't have the ability to dictate more than that. So now, if they go beyond, they put it out. But if their God didn't want to fool me, so why did we say 3 days? The answer is because he doesn't have the ability. I'm going after them. Right? So it was all part of this misleading Paro to believe what he wanted to believe.
And it's all an educational process for the Jewish people, isn't it?
No question. You realize Alan just came off the mountain. That's where he's coming from. The only thing is he slid down the mountain. He slid down the mountain. Okay. It's not a question. What is the question? What about Haman? Sure, no question. Even though his descendants converted. It says, B'nai Baruch Shalom, Lom Nitor, B'nai Brak, they weren't in Chelek later. We didn't get there yet. Right, so, okay. Yesterday I had a Maral. The Maral says in the Gurus Hashem, he goes on the question, Hashem hardened his heart. He goes on the Rambam's question. Where's the Bechira? So he says for two reasons why the question is not a question. The second thing he says is like the Rambam, that it was a punishment, that he had the ability to choose and he abused that privilege. So it was his choice not to have choice. Right? First 5 times. But the first thing he says is very interesting. He says, what was the basis for kfira in the world, for heresy and paganism? Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim, that was the basis. No, but I'm saying, no, I understand that, but being the height of civilization and everything else, and Paro deified himself, they were perpetuating and magnifying this idea of nothing exists but, especially we said with the Rabbi Nabachi, Ofer. Everything is earthy. There's nothing outside the realm of nature. Everything is nature. That was Paro. That was Mitzrayim. So he says, therefore, so if now he would recognize, and he said, Mi Hashem Hashem Mikolo, right? When Moshe presented himself, Mi Hashem. So the person who said, Mi Hashem Hashem Mikolo, because he was going the other way, Hashem had to harden his heart to bring out that the Kiddush Hashem should come from him, like you're saying. So he had to compensate for what he did wrong. The Kiddush Hashem, you can only restore what he did only if it comes from that person himself. That's what he says.
That's one of the reasons that Paro, a lot of these plagues, Paro could have and should have been killed. Right?
Could have.
Could have been.
But you could always say, but many people didn't die.
Since he was the first one.
But that's at the end. That's at the very end. That's the very end.
But even the other plagues, the Adam, all the
Yeah, but not everybody died. Many people could have, but many people weren't killed.
right, but someone had to be around to testify.
Yeah, but it wasn't only him. Most of Egypt was there, even with the Oro. They may have been injured, mauled, but they weren't killed.
The Paro being the par excellence.
So he could have been. You know, Paro was a machashev. He was a sorcerer. Through sorcery, he could have protected himself from the animals. The other people weren't able to protect themselves. Yeah, but Dever, Moshe says you could have died in the pestilence. Okay. More in Chelik, more in Sanhedrin. This chapter we're learning right now. Yeah. It's a little late. Also Sancheriv's children. Shmai Vaftalion were the grandchildren of Sancheriv. That's Hillel and Shammai's teachers, Rabbeim. Good. Hashem said 3 days. That's what you should tell to Paro. Yeah. Tell them that you want to go for 3 days. So good. 5 is Shleimus. Yeah, Chamisha Chumshei Torah. Always 5. Men Chamish Lemikro. There were 5 camps in the Midbar. 4 in the center camp, right? It was Matna Shechina. No, that's establishing a pattern. That's a pattern. This is not a pattern. This is completion. You receive the full dosage of understanding. 10 is something else. 10 is something else. Yeah.
So was it
To mislead him, all this was misleading him. To mislead him that ultimately he's going to be destroyed. He had to be destroyed in this. He had to get into the water. Because then he's not going to pursue us. We duped him. We fooled him.
So in other words, with the Makos, and finally he left us go only for 3 days.
But afterwards he regretted it. When he heard that we weren't coming back, he says we shouldn't have sent him out, right? That's the Bishal Parasa'om. That's next week's reading.
I don't understand why, because only for 3 days, but Carl fought so hard every single time, the stuff has been destroyed.
But after Max Bechoros, he had no choice. He had no choice.
For 3 days, you would think the leader of this country would let them out for 3 days.
No. Not when if you don't have to. You don't let him out for a minute.